Hello and welcome to SweDnD. I'm Martin and today I'm joined by my very good friends Anton and Philip.
Yo.
Hello.
And we have a very exciting video for you today. We're gonna discuss some of the newly released subclasses from Tashas Cauldron of Everything. 22 new subclasses was released in this source book, and we have read through them all, and now they are in their officially published form. Most of them has appeared in Unearthed Arcana before, but now we have the full-fledged releases of these classes. So we have picked two each that we are very excited to see in play, and we will tell you why. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. So Philip, why don't you tell us about your first pick of these new subclasses?
Well, let me tell you about this, Martin. So, starting off with, in alphabetical order, pretty much, we have the newest edition of the classes, the Artificer, and its new subclass, the Armorer, which has a very, very interesting thematic style, as most of you probably already know. It's a little bit like Iron Man, fantasy-wise. Artificer, as some already know, they specialize in infusing magic into objects and using magic through objects or machines. But the Armorer specifically has specialized in using an armor set. Well, they choose an armor and they say, this is my magical armor now. This comes with me. And it becomes a battle suit, pretty much, that they can use in battle, mostly. They can use it also as the spell focus for all their spells. And if it's like a heavy armor, they don't need the strength requirement for it. They just become able to use it, and they just wear it at all times.
And they get all the benefits, right, from a heavy armor.
Yeah,
well.
yeah. They just wear the armor,
And they can change that armor if they want to. If they start out with chainmail, say, and they want to upgrade to a
yes,
plate.
they can just choose another armor and they say, this is my arcane armor now. So they can just, as they progress and level up their equipment, they can just get a better armor.
Can they do it with magical armor as well?
I believe they can. This says nothing about having to choose a specific kind of armor. It's just an armor you are wearing.
Wow.
So as long as you can actually physically put it on, you can make it your arcane armor.
That's pretty cool.
I can really imagine a fight breaking out between like the heavy armor user, the paladin, and the artificer.
Yeah, I think actually they become proficient with heavy armor already.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they can probably. I think the only thing that wouldn't work if there's like a class requirement or something like that, then they wouldn't be able to use it.
Of course.
But if they have a strength of 8, they can still put on a set of full plate and be able to use it.
Unless they multi-class.
Unless they multi-class.
In order to get like a paladin-specific armor or something.
Oh, yeah, of course. Anyway.
Holy Iron Man.
The armor mostly used in battle. It has 2 different modes. It has the Guardian and the Infiltrator mode. Guardian is very much Iron Man. They run around with it and they punch things and do thunder damage. Their fists become simple melee weapons with 1d8 thunder damage plus their intelligence modifier, and they can use that for the roll also. So they don't need either dex or strength to attack with their fists.
So they become like is it called the Hulk Breaker, the giant armor he wears?
Yeah, kind of like that.
The Avengers, Age of Ultron.
You mentioned that there was an infiltration mode as well.
Yeah.
Can the same armor set swap between these two modes?
Every rest. Short and long rests.
Oh, that's
Okay.
very dynamic.
And when they change the weapon, instead of being like fist weapons like that, they get a gem on one of the fists or like in the chest, which can shoot lightning, which is like a ranged lightning attack instead.
That's very Iron Man as well.
Yeah, very Iron Man. And at 5th level, they get a second attack. So they become pretty much an intelligence-based martial class.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
And they still keep everything from the artificer base, I guess. So.
Absolutely. So you can still use all the spells, and at higher levels, they can get more infusing, which they can use on the armor itself.
Now, do you think that their not very high HP base would be a problem for a melee artificer?
I mean, being melee, maybe, but you have full plate and you can have a shield.
That's
so you
true.
can, already at level 3, you can be an artificer with 20 or even higher, 21, because you can infuse the shield to have even more
Power,
AC.
And I suppose you can have spells as well to get away if you need to.
That too.
And you can also choose to boost your constitution score. I
Yeah,
mean, after
of
your
course,
intelligence.
of course.
Then.
Yeah, probably
Seems like-
you would probably choose intelligence and constitution.
Seems smart.
Yeah. I'm also very, very
Yeah.
excited by
It's
that
a cool
class.
subclass.
And of course, we made a lot of comparison to Iron Man, but I'm sure you can give it your own flavor as well.
Oh yeah. So that's pretty much the armorer or their theme.
How about you, Anton? What's the first of your picks?
The first of my picks would be the Twilight domain for the cleric class.
Interesting.
A class that already has a lot of subclasses, as we know.
Yeah.
And the Twilight domain, it is another subclass of the clerics that kind of adds to the support role, if you will. The subclass excels at boosting the defensive capabilities of their friends, mostly. But they also get the best dark vision in the game, and they can grant it to their party.
That's useful.
Yes, I believe it has a range of 300 feet, which is more than twice as much as superior dark vision,
Yeah.
which
Really?
Drow and Deep Gnomes get, for instance.
That solves a lot of problems for an adventuring group.
Yes, I think the overall theme for the Twilight clerics is that darkness becomes your friend more than your enemy if you have a Twilight cleric in your group.
So they are not really themed about evil or so, like the death domain. I mean, Twilight, it sounds pretty ominous.
No, as far as I understand, it's more about the transition from day to night and the protection of, everyone from the powers of darkness.
This would probably fit very well into Realm of the Frost Maiden, which there is eternal twilight.
How very topical of you.
Yeah.
Yes, they for instance get the ability with their channel divinity to summon an orb, 30-foot radius of dim light that grants temporary hit points, removes charms and frightened effects, and at higher levels it even grants extra AC and bonus on saving throws. So.
Sounds like a great choice of a class if you're playing like a Christmas one-shot or so, now that we go into the darker times of year.
Also, they can fly.
Oh.
Santa
So
Claus?
that's pretty cool.
Giving out gifts, flying, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I would probably opt for them as opposed to a more traditionally heal-heavy support class, just to try something different. Like instead of a life cleric, would probably try a Twilight.
Or the defense
cleric.
buffs instead.
Yes. Also, they get Leomund's tiny hut and some other invisibility and trickery oriented spells, which is always fun.
Yeah, sounds like a great addition to a class with already very good subclasses.
Yes, yes, very true.
Okay, so if we're going over to my first pick, I chose the Psi Warrior as one of the subclasses I'm most excited for. And it is basically fighters who attack with psionic powers, or they enhance their already good martial powers with psionic capabilities. They can make their attacks stronger with their psi-infused strikes, but they can also help or strengthen their own defense with psychic barriers as well as for their allies. And then, of course, they have some tools to affect the battlefield and control it as well. And I think it's a good class because it gives a lot of interesting things you have to think about in your backstory. Like, why would a fighter, which is a very physical class, awaken mental capabilities like this? Did you get it through intense training? Did you take part in an experiment or something? I don't know. Or how did that come to be? Especially since you don't have it when you start out on level 1.
It seems like a possible, since Tasha's also includes the new rules for changing your subclass as you play.
Yeah.
Seems very much like a possible subclass to change into as a result of something happening during the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely.
And mechanically, the class get a set of psionic dice, which starts out as D6s that you use to activate your abilities and say how much damage you add or reduce to an attack, etc. And they grow in power the more levels you take in this subclass.
So they're kind of like a different kind of superiority dice, or
Yeah, in a way.
like the Battle Master.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I read this subclass, I got a very clear character idea, and we'll see if you can figure it out. So say that you're a farm boy, for example, and one day you meet a learned hermit who tells you that there is this kind of mysterious force that you can learn to master with a rigorous training, and for those who has the gift to awaken it with their mind. And then suddenly you come home and your whole village has been ravaged. All your family is dead, and you want to seek out who did this and take revenge. And somewhere along your journey you find a sunblade that can retract and come out like a lightsaber, for example.
Would your flaw be that you don't like sand?
Oh, I hate sand. I hate sand. I would go maybe for petricide. I don't know. Well,
why not both?
Okay, took me a while there. I'm a bit ashamed of it.
I would so love to play a Jedi-like character that is a Psi warrior. Like you get like force pull and push and like stuff like
really,
that.
all the Psi classes do lend themselves very well to the Jedi fantasy in different regards. But that one specifically.
But I'm sure you can find other ways to use this class as well, of course. About your second pick, Philip, what did you...
My second pick is one of the new rogue subclasses, the Phantom Rogue, to be more precise. I think it's really fun that they added this more kind of like the magic touch of the rogues, that they're pretty much a necromancer, or like a watcher of the grave, or making sure that the natural death process goes as it should, like Path to the Grave cleric, like the theme of it. And the thing that they can, in the early levels, they get the ability to switch proficiencies because they hear whispers from the dead, which can tell them new knowledge, and they gain the ability to like shoot necrotic damage from their sneak attacks onto other targets next to them, and they have this specific kind of a feature which is called the Soul Trinket, which is that when creatures around them die, they can snatch part of the soul and make that into a tiny object, which they then can use to enhance themselves and their attacks. And they can just keep on killing or seeing death at least, and just keep enhancing and using them to empower. And it kind of snowballs. It like Bless, the spell Bless, it kind of works very well with itself.
That is... I love the flavor of this subclass, and I mean, rogues are usually surrounded by death in one way or another.
Definitely.
So very thematic.
It seems like there would be a lot of cool opportunities for roleplay both on behalf of the DM and the player when it comes to the Whispers of the Grave and such. And it sounds like they're well suited to fighting multiple enemies then, if they can keep using this...
I'd say they would benefit from fighting a group of people because they can get that trinket every time, like using a reaction every time something dies around them, or kind of close to them. And I really like this part because it adds another like religious kind of rogue, and not like I'm just a thief or who's out for money or just want revenge or something. But they can just be like from a monastery or something, and they have a religious mission in the world.
Not the typical criminal.
It's a bit more occult.
Definitely, and I like that new style.
Would make for a fantastic villain character as well.
Definitely could work,
I think. Like an assassin in a plot that can slip through walls and do such shenanigans would not be bad, I think. I'm very excited by this subclass as well.
I would be really excited to play
if you
it.
hadn't picked it.
It's a good one.
Yes, it's a good one. Should we move on to my second one?
Yeah, sure.
Speaking of good subclasses, or subclasses that I like the flavor of at least, one of the Rangers' new subclasses is the Fey Wanderer. And the Fey Wanderer, the concept of that is that you somehow, as a ranger, gained supernatural powers bestowed upon you by some event, some sort of magical plant, or perhaps an archfey that gave you a boon, as the description says. And it kind of makes you a guardian of both the material plane and the Feywild. And the Feywild is in itself a very fun thing to deal with, I think, as players and as a DM, since it is so it can be basically anything you want. You can be very creative when it comes to the Feywild, and everything is very magical and very extra, if you will. So you can put as much of that as you want into your backstory, which I think is very cool.
Yeah,
and also the flavor of the subclass describes it as, you become kind of Fey-like in your behavior, in that your joy is great and can lift the hearts of the downtrodden, but your anger is terrible to behold and almost like a natural force unto itself, which is also cool for role-playing to enhance all the emotions.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, one of the biggest characteristics of the Feywild is like it's ever changing and so on, right? It's very dynamic. It goes quickly from a very nice place to a very
harsh environment.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And I mean, before we get on to the mechanics of the subclass, they also get like a Fey, I don't remember what it was called, but like a Fey quirk, something like that. For instance, you can choose that you have grown antlers, or that new season-appropriate flowers bloom in your hair every day, or that your hair changes color depending on the season, and cool, characteristics like that can make your character truly unique. When it comes to their mechanics, they start out getting just a straight-up good psychic damage boost on the first attack on any creature each turn. And it's important to note that they get an extra D4, I believe, when they start out, and they can hit several creatures with this D4, but not the same creature twice per turn. So it would also be beneficial for them actually to fight several smaller enemies.
If they attack different on the same turn, then.
Indeed.
Dish out a lot of extra damage.
Yeah. And like on higher levels, they get access to Misty Step, which becomes important in one of their higher level features, where they can use it without expending spell slots and also bring allies with them. And they get the ability to summon Fey creatures with or without concentration. Without concentration, the spell lasts for 1 minute, but if you summon 3 Fey creatures at once, perhaps that could be interesting. We'll see if they change that in a future errata or whatever they're called, but it's interesting for now as a concept.
Yeah, the DM of a Fey Wanderer might have to turn up the difficulty level a bit.
In that case, yeah. Finally, they get a big boost to their social capabilities. Without being an urban ranger, they still are able to hold their own in social interactions by being able to add their wisdom modifier to all charisma checks. They also get to choose an extra proficiency, persuasion, deception, or performance. So I think multi-classing into perhaps Bard would not be super far-fetched.
It kind of felt like they're the ranger version of the Glamour Bard.
Yes.
Because they're both Fey-inspired.
Yes, and they are also, kind of charm-oriented. They get some charm spells, and they can redirect their charm spells if they fail. So that could be very interesting in social interactions as well.
Yeah, it seems like it is another subclass that has a bit of a spread of their features. They are not only focused on combat or purely on RP and so on. And I like that when a subclass get a little bit of both. That you can have some variation in your abilities.
Indeed.
Okay, so my second pick and the final we will look at today is the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. I love this subclass because I love Mordrons. And a Clockwork Soul Sorcerer is a sorcerer that gains its power from the cosmic force of order. And this force comes either from the plane of Mechanus, the home of the Mordrons, or a similar plane that is also very heavily connected with a mechanical theme, like a clockwork clockwork efficiency or so. And it states in the description of this class that your affiliation with this kind of worldly order, that things has an order and things should be as they could, can seem very strange to most folk on the material plane. But for you, it's a natural thing. Like, this is how it is and how it's supposed to be, and I know what I need to do to keep up this order. And I think that could be a lot of fun to role play.
Does it require you to be lawful neutral?
No, I was considering that. Like, what is your, like, how do you feel about good and evil? Like, as long as you're lawful, do you believe there is a good and evil even? Yeah, I don't know. I think it will be hard to choose an alignment for this kind of character. You would have to throw it out.
Yeah.
This subclass is a defensively focused sorcerer, not a healer by that means. It's more like preventing damage and controlling the battlefield and your enemies and allies alike. And some of the features you get as you chose this subclass for your sorcerer, well, first and foremost, you get an expanded spell list. This sorcerer subclass and the other one introduced in this sourcebook are the only sorcerers that gets expanded spell lists, and that's huge. And secondly, they can choose to change some of the spells in their spell list. A Clockwork Soul sorcerer can take away any of their subclass specific spells and change them to any transmutation or abjuration school of spells from sorcerers, warlocks, or wizards. And that is very nice, because I think sorcerers has been limited before by their selection of spells.
Yeah, that sounds like a really cool addition.
And then you get some powers that let you negate advantage or disadvantage for enemies and allies alike. You get a lot of abilities where you can ward your allies and where you can affect dice rolls. Like if you roll below a 10 on a skill check or attack roll, you can make it to be at least 10 and so on. It seems pretty fun in my mind, and I already like the sorcerer as a base class with their meta magic, so this seems like a great addition to that class. And I've been thinking, like, what character could you play that is a clockwork sorcerer? I was immediately thinking of like a Warforged sorcerer, of course, a machine itself. But maybe someone who is just crazy about machines and mechanics, constructions.
A gnome would be pretty good. Like a rock gnome who is a tinkerer and a clockwork.
And from a roleplay perspective, it seems a great dual class to Artificer.
Definitely would make sense.
I don't know how efficient that would be, but cool.
I mean, it's thematic.
Yeah. Well, do you have any other honorable mentions or so of some subclasses? I mean, most of the additions in this book is great in my mind.
I would like to honorably mention the genie patron for the warlock. Where you can have your own magical lamp and pull your entire party into it for a nice loungy rest. And also you get wish.
And a limited wish,
and
right?
you get to fly. So again, flying is great. I just love the genie subclass. You'll have to check it out.
My honorable mention would be the scribe wizard, which entire thing is, you want spells? Let's get some more spells. Just scribe all of the spells done in the book. Like the spell book is just all around. You completely lose the weakness with the spell book because you can just summon it or create a new one all the time.
And you can have it as your familiar as well.
Yeah, pretty much. It can become sentient, and it's your pal or whatever.
That's cool.
That's really fun.
Yeah. I think I would have to go with the Wildfire Druid, Circle of Wildfire Druid. I like the thought behind like a druid who sees fire and forest fires and so on as part of like the natural cycle. And it's also cool to have a lot of fire spells and your little fire spirit that can help you in battle. I think that is where we will wrap up this video. And of course, we will make a lot more content about Tashas Cauldron of Everything. It's a great rule expansion that has a lot of material that deserves to be looked over.
Definitely.
Not looked over, to be looked at. And make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. And leave a comment if you agree with our choices or if you have another opinion.
Goodbye.